On Monday, Manhattan federal court judge Allison Nathan ruled that prosecutors can refer to accusers of British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell as victims, as well as keep their identities anonymous during Maxwell's upcoming trial in New York on charges procuring underage girls to be sexually abused by longtime associate Jeffrey Epstein. And as we know, Epstein was charged with sex trafficking by U.S. federal prosecutors. He died in 2019, awaiting trial in a New York jail cell. Prosecutors say they had not made any plea offers to Maxwell, nor has she asked for one, telling the judge, quote, "I have not committed any crime." So Maxwell's trial is expected to begin with opening statements on November 29th.
Meanwhile, the American chief executive of Barclays, Jay Staley, announced that he is stepping down effective immediately following an investigation by British regulators into his relationship with Epstein, which dated back to 2000 when he became head of JP Morgan's private bank. In a statement on Monday, Barclays said, in view of those conclusions and Mr. Staley's intention to contest them, the board and Mr. Staley have agreed that he will step down from his role as group chief executive and as a director. The company goes on to say it should be noted that the investigation makes no findings that Mr. Staley saw or was aware of any of Mr. Epstein's alleged crimes, which was the central question underpinning Barclays' support for Mr. Staley following the arrest of Mr. Epstein in the summer of 2019. So is this, what do you think, Kim? Is this, is this going to be an important development in the case?
You know, it's really interesting because I don't know if there's any other powerful person who's been connected to Epstein who's been forced to step down or have any consequences for their relationship with Epstein other than Ghislaine Maxwell herself. I mean, can you guys remember any other? I mean, there have been people.
MIT.
Prince, the Prince.
But he's fighting. Yeah, somebody at MIT.
He's had to step back from public.
I suppose
family
he's had to,
life.
right. Yeah, I guess he's had to like not show up to certain events, but what right. MIT, what was that one?
So Epstein kicked a whole ton of money over to MIT, and the guy at the head of it, I think, was forced to resign as a result of it. If I recall, Jared Gordis, how do you say his last name? MSNBC contributor, author, called him out for his ties to Epstein, and as a result, he ended up stepping down. He was the head of whatever the particular school at MIT was that.
Right.
But you're right. There's not a lot of heads rolling.
Right,
Certainly not a lot of heads rolling.
Everybody's doing fine. Bill Gates, has taken a blow to his reputation. Mm-hmm. But you can't make him a not billionaire.
Right.
I mean, you could, actually.
You're thinking of the ways right now. Ryan's been strategizing the ways to do that all show.
We don't do it. It's a better way of putting it. Yeah.
The reason why he had to step down from Microsoft was simply because of there was a different allegation, right, against him. It was a worker, an employee that he had an inappropriate relationship with, apparently. But that had nothing really to do with Epstein. So, yeah, I mean, other than having your reputation tarnished a bit for having that connection to Epstein, we're not really seeing any actual consequences for people except for Ghislaine. And it's really interesting to see how, the prosecution, they're not offering her any deals. I think that's probably a relief to a lot of people. A lot of people kind of assume that, everybody connected with Epstein is just going to get away with it. But she's also not really one of the real powerful, rich people, right?
But isn't it the case? We're not going to find out unless they do. I mean, you might want her to not get a plea deal for the sake of justice itself, which I absolutely get. But isn't it the case that we're really not going to find out very much unless she is offered a plea deal and then she flips and reveals whatever she knows?
I mean, that's a really good point. And really, I think a lot of people would like to go after other people and not just Ghislaine Maxwell, right? She was kind of the facilitator, and that's an extremely important part of this entire, illegal sex ring or, this terrible thing that was going on. But I do think that people are wanting to see some of these more powerful people taken down for their participation in this.
Right, and the deal that the state would offer her is the opposite of the one that people would want her offered. The deal that the state would offer is, we'll give you some leniency, you shut up. Like, we don't want to hear anything about anything that you did. Whereas
because she would implicate
all of the most powerful people in the world. Yeah. And the deal that people want is, you know what, we'll go lenient on you, but tell us everything. We want names. Right. We want details of who was involved in this, what they did. And so that we can
and
continue
physical evidence, if it exists.
string.
Are there tapes somewhere?
There are tapes.
Yeah.
There are tapes. There's CDs. There is video. He was clearly. I mean, he appears to have been connected to at least one or two intelligence agencies around the world. Everybody knew that his townhouse was wired. The video cameras everywhere. The FBI leaked that they had gotten CDs that had name of victim. Name of famous person, basically on these CDs that they were carting out of his row house. Where are those? Turn over the evidence and get Ghislaine Maxwell to then fill in the blanks. I'm not confident we're going to get that, but that's what the public deserves.
Well, she's not going, like they said, she's not offering. And why wouldn't she offer? Well, because she doesn't want to be Epsteined.
Right.
I mean.
Right. Yeah. Here's the deal. Yeah.
Yes,
but maybe put me in a jail that actually has working cameras, please. Right? That would be part of the
just for fun, except for that 5 minutes.
Making it clear, she's keeping her mouth closed. She doesn't want to say a word. But another thing that's really interesting is people don't kind of understand this whole. Well, why wouldn't you call them victims in court? And I know we've been dealing with this with Kyle Rittenhouse and the judge there saying that the people he killed could not be called victims, and in this case, in Ghislaine Maxwell's, they can be called victims. And a lot of that is just discretionary with the judge. Each court kind of handles this differently, but a lot of judges, the way they kind of look at it is sort of the rule of thumb is if the victim committed no crime whatsoever, if the person who was, I don't know, I guess you can't use the term victim in describing this, right? So whoever it was on the other side of whoever's the defendant, if they committed absolutely no crime whatsoever, then a lot of times the judge will say, yes, you could call them a victim. If that person potentially committed crimes and you can actually prove that they committed crimes, then a lot of times the judge will say, no, we're not going to refer to them as a victim, but they can be referred to as other things. So obviously in this case.
Yeah, the media really freaked out about that with the Kyle Rittenhouse thing very wrongly. I think there's been a lot of actually really bad mainstream reporting on that whole case, but that's a different subject. But
yeah, although didn't he say that you could call them rioters and looters, which to me seems overboard because that's something you would need to prove too. Just being in the town doesn't make you a rioter or a looter. It makes you a protester, but it doesn't.
I believe the judge clarified that and said if you can prove that they were rioting or looting, if you have hard evidence of that, then you can refer to them as that, but you cannot refer to them as something that you cannot prove. So including victim in their case. But in this case, obviously these young girls, I mean, what else would they be other than victims? So that seemed to be a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, tomorrow on Rising, we have a great show planned for you. Max Alvarez and Patrice Onwuka join us for Team Rising. Plus, Brianna Joy Gray will be here. We'll, as always, discuss the biggest news of the day with her. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you all tomorrow.